is a teacher recording of how to teach the 4SQUARE recipe. This is one of the early recipes. You could teach this right after square, or you could teach it after spiral, or you could teach it after houses. This recipe introduces the idea of subroutines, and we also have 2 for loops in here. So this is a great recipe for that. So if you go ahead and read line 1, we're going to translate that.
Show the tortoise.
Now in some recipes we don't really need to show the tortoise, but in our intentional way of teaching, we really want to make sure that the kids take a line of English and then put it in SmallBasic. And there's a reason for this, as you'll see on this recipe. Some of them don't need the tortoise.show. And as soon as we translate it, we just do a Control-L to take it out. Now again, we want to go to the next line here that you can actually see. So we're going to do line 8. So go ahead and read line 8.
Turn the tortoise 90 degrees to the right.
So we're going to use the tortoise object. We could use turn or turn right, but we're going to use turn here. And we're going to say 90. And again, we didn't set the line 2 yet because we want to be able to see this. So we've translated that, so we're going to take that off. Now the next thing that we can do is way down here on line 18. So go ahead and read that.
Move the tortoise 50 pixels.
So we're going to say tortoise.move. We're going to say 50. And then we're going to run that. And we're going to see that it turns and it moves. So then we're going to clean up the line above it. And then read line 19, please.
Turn the tortoise 90 degrees to the right.
Now it's going to be subtle, but because we're still on a slow speed, we can actually see that, and we want to see that because as we go through this recipe, we're going to see why. So tortoise.turn 90. Again, you could do turn right if you wanted to, and go ahead and run it. Again, emphasize with the kids that they do not want to clean up the lines until they're fully translated. So we've seen it turn twice, and then we're going to go ahead and clean this up. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do line 16. So go ahead and read line 16.
Change the color of the line the tortoise draws to a random color.
Okay, so again we're using the tortoise, and if this is the second recipe you're teaching after square, you might want to bring up the getter setter slide. So we're going to say set pen color, and then you want to remind the kids about the colors object here if they've forgotten, and have them explore it by just doing the dot or clicking on the colors object itself, and then click on it here, and then they could actually see. And if they get really stuck, give them a hint, maybe show them the getter and setter slide. So we're going to use get random color. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and run that. And we're going to see that it's a random color and it's turning. So that's cool. So now we're going to clean up the line before that. Now line 14, go ahead and read that.
Do the following 4 times.
Now if you've done square, the kids are introduced to the for loop. They may have forgotten the keyword, so encourage them to do control space and then just explore up and down. Try to have them between the 2 of them go all the way through until they find the keyword. It might seem tedious, but it's super important for the kids to discover it because it's really going to stick. And then have them look at the documentation. Now if the kids are really struggling, you can use the slide once they discover the for loop, but let them do it. So we're going to say for I equals 1, 2, 4, and then they may forget the N4. So again, if they forget the N4, of course, it's going to look like this. And if you go ahead and read out the error.
19.1. Expected N4, but cannot find one in the right place.
So it's super important that they get this in here because as we progress on the recipe, if they don't have their N4, it obviously won't compile, but it's also going to cause other problems if they put in the wrong spot. And it's a common mistake that kids make. So we're going to go ahead and run that. And now we should have a slowly rendering square with random colors. That looks pretty. So we're going to clean up these lines. And then to help the kids to see what the for loop is actually doing, we're going to use the right click and format program. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to introduce or reintroduce the idea of subroutines. So this is a key thing that this recipe teaches. It's really important to teach it in this order because the kids are going to understand it a lot better. So if they have forgotten the keyword for recipe, again, have them do a control space and arrow up and down, and hopefully they can get to the word sub. And then we have the example. If they're really stuck, you can, once they find the word sub, you can use the slide and take a couple minutes and show them. And then notice we patterned the words as draw square. A common mistake kids make is they put a space between the words. Another common mistake is they forget the end sub, or they put the end sub above the end for. So those are common things to look for. So we're going to put the end sub in, and it's going to compile, but it's going to do something funny. So if we run it, all it's going to do is show the tortoise and rotate it. This is really key to the learning for the kids. Ask them why they think this occurred. And it'll probably take a minute, but hopefully it comes from the group that they'll see line 6. Go ahead and read line 6.
Do the following, draw a square recipe below.
And that actually is calling, of course, the sub. So the sub isn't going to do anything until you actually call it. So we're going to clean up these lines because there's our sub, and we're going to format our program. And then we're going to call this, and in the formatting, this is super important in this recipe because you can see the for loop shows the indentation and the sub shows the indentation, and really point that out to the kids here when you do this recipe recap. And we're going to run it. And now, of course, we're going to get the square. Notice, even though we have a command to speed up the tortoise, we didn't. And there's a specific reason for that you're going to see in a minute. So we've translated line 6, so we can clean that up. Now, if you read line 4.
Do the following 4 times.
Well, the kids should feel pretty comfortable with that because they've seen a for loop, but they're probably going to make a mistake. So they're probably going to say for I equals 1 to 4 because that's what they're used to seeing. Now, and there's a bug in SmallBasic that's popped up, the tortoise. So 2, 4. Make sure that they put in the end 4. Now, if they do this, they're going to get a runtime error. And this is a really great thing to explain to kids that there's compile time errors. An example, of course, is if you forget your end 4, put it in the wrong spot, it wouldn't compile anywhere and you get all these errors. But if you do put your end 4, you're still going to get not the result that you expect. And it's important that you understand this and you can explain it to the kids. The reason is in SmallBasic, you need to use a different value for the variable. You can see this just makes a single square because I stays at 4, and that's not really what you want. So you're going to actually change that to J, so you have unique variable values. And then you're going to go ahead and format this code. Don't clean up until you're comfortable with it. Go ahead and run it, and you can see now you should be making your 4SQUARE because I and J are unique variables. So this is the first time that we introduce this, and this is a concept that you'll see throughout our later recipes. It's a really good thing for the kids to see visually so they can understand why they have to use different variables and for loops in SmallBasic recipes. You can go through, and there's our 4SQUARE. This is a fun recipe for variations too. And then we're going to clean this up. And of course, kind of the reward at the end is once you get the whole thing, translate the last line. So read line 2 for me, please.
Make the tortoise move as fast as possible.
And of course, we know what that is. If we've done square, that's just set speed. And then we get the big reward of we get a very fast 4SQUARE. This recipe is really fun to do variations with. Don't forget to do a recap because of all the important concepts. So do your recap. We haven't written a quiz as the time of this recording. We'll try to get one written. And then you've got your variations, which are a lot of fun as well. So hope this helps. For more information, go to www.teachingkidsprogramming.org. Thanks.